Hello, and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks, One Show, where we break down and recap one episode of a week of a currently airing show. This week is the second to last episode of the first season of Outlander. It's called Wentworth Prison.
Yes. So much like how the last episode ended, Claire and bearded bestie Myrta are now armed with Willie, Rupert, and Angus and heading to the prison to rescue Jamie. And for some odd reason, Claire's the only one that makes it inside the prison and finds Jamie. But who's there but Blackjack? Ooh! And so we have to get Blackjack is back, baby. And he's bad as ever.
Seriously. I like that you said armed with Willie and Rupert and Angus, because I don't necessarily consider them arms. More baggage.
Yeah, I mean
they're useful, sure.
Like Angus and Rupert were useful once.
Yes. Willie was mostly moral support.
Yeah. Myrta wasn't even that useful.
He was, though.
He was, and he wasn't. Like, I just don't. We'll get into it. Claire just ends up being Claire and actually storming the prison by herself. It's just
essentially, yeah. And part of that is because being that it's an English prison, it's easier for her to lie and say that she's like an English lady who's there to visit a family friend who's been imprisoned. Yada 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 yada. And she manages to worm her way into the prison, talking to the warden, and it doesn't work the first time. He just gives her Jamie's personal effects. Although we should point out that the episode starts with Jamie about to face the hangman's noose.
Yes, this is true.
Which is very important, I think. Anyway, it's not something, all of the Jamie bits, as with any of the Jamie bits that don't have Claire in them, are added by the show. In part, I think, to fill time. And also to give you greater context of what's been happening when they're separated, because they get separated a lot in the second half of the book. So we never see Jamie about to face the noose. So that's, I don't remember it being mentioned, but maybe it's mentioned offhandedly that Blackjack stayed his execution. But that wasn't a major part. You don't see all these bits with Jamie saying that it's not death that scares him, it's his wife. And things like that. So that's not something that you see. And then you also don't see what happens to Jamie when Blackjack is interrogating him. You just see the effects. So Claire walks into the room and sees Jamie with this mangled hand, which that was hard to watch.
I don't know if I'm immune to pain, because I was just I didn't watch it, don't get me wrong, I was but I wasn't oh my god, the way everyone talked about it, I literally thought I was going to be throwing up.
Yeah, well, I thought it was going to be something else that we were going to be seeing. So
yeah.
I knew that we're probably going to see how his hand got mangled, and that was just awful. I'm just saying that's hard to watch because I don't like watching people get bones broken and stuff. At least it wasn't his legs. I have a really hard time watching people on TV break their legs.
Okay.
As someone who suffered leg injuries in the past, it's just not a pleasant, no, I just can't. But the hammering of the hand was just oh god.
Yeah. I think what got me about the hand was the noises more than actually the visual. So that was what I was but yet I am I don't think anyone would be surprised. I don't do a lot of physical activity, so I've never broken anything. So I guess for me, I don't understand the pain, so I can't really sympathize with it.
I've broken many a bone.
I haven't broken anything. So.
Yeah, don't break legs or dislocate things. Dislocated my knee once, not fun.
So but yeah, I wasn't everyone made it I was going up to the show, I was I started to feel nauseous. I'm oh my god, everyone's making such a big deal. I started having almost panic attacks. I'm warning, I'm texting people that are watching it. I'm oh, be careful, it's gonna be a really gruesome episode. And then I'm oh, do people not watch Game of Thrones?
And maybe they don't. Maybe this is their first, foray into this. So maybe they aren't sort of immune to the violence because Game of Thrones is definitely more graphic than Outlander has been at all.
Yeah.
And Outlander tends to use it well, for the most
Yeah.
part.
So, because in the books, I have a question. In the books, did Claire not see Blackjack at all?
She does. She does, but in the same way that she sees him in the show, where he comes back and interrupts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, we should. So Jamie's about to be hung. The watchman guy that I still don't know his name. We just call him the watch dude. Actually does meet his maker and gets hung by the noose. And as Jamie's being walked up there, in this really weird sense, Blackjack comes riding in like almost like his knight in shining armor. And is like, no, don't kill him. And she's like, what? No, kill me. Like, seriously, just kill me right now. And Blackjack like gets them not to kill Jamie. Jamie like goes on to like the deluxe cellar in the basement, like
deluxe interrogation room.
Yeah, like he gets his own room. So it was a very odd thing, but it was also kind of very interesting, and it's another great Blackjack character thing.
It was a good episode for Blackjack. Like, in as much as there can be a good episode for Blackjack. I did like the scene where he comes riding in on the horse, and he's literally like, he would be like a conquering hero if he wasn't so horrifying.
Yeah, like it would be a great thing if Blackjack wasn't an awful human being.
Seriously.
It was so ironic on so many levels that in a way Blackjack saved Jamie, because Claire and Myrta and the motley crew of 3 were not there yet.
Nope.
So if Blackjack didn't come in, Jamie would be dead.
Yep, he would have been. I mean, he was about to get tossed from the gallows. Which, speaking of noises, they did a very good job making all of the neck breaking disgusting.
Yeah, that was quite, and the whole setup, it was like multiple people at one time. It was like a triangle of death.
I think the one thing that struck me the most, and I don't know if this was a deliberate choice on the part of the crew, but all of the people working that, like, all of the soldiers were young.
Yeah.
Like, the one kid who was like signing all the paperwork was like 18, maybe.
What happened? And I was thinking this as we were watching. What happened to Lieutenant Good Looking Face?
I don't know, but I want him to come back.
Are we never gonna see him again? Like,
probably not.
Breaks my heart.
I know, I liked him.
Yeah.
But, Lieutenant Foster.
Yeah. Lieutenant Good Looking Face.
Lieutenant Good Looking Face.
So Claire comes up with this brilliant idea to go. Well, no, actually, this is where Rupert and Angus were actually beneficial. No, they were beneficial after.
Well, it's the second time they go in.
Okay.
The first time they go in, I don't know if it was Claire or Bearded Bestie who makes the decision to do it, but they go in and she pretends to be, as I said before, an English lady who's visiting a family friend that she doesn't know very well.
Yeah.
Because she's a good Christian woman and totally not an atheist.
So yeah, she visits and she wants to see Jamie, so he could write, or was that the second time?
No, the first time.
So he could write a letter to his mother, so she can bring it to the mother, and routine sins and all that kind of crap.
His totally still alive mother.
Yeah. So the warden was nice, and he gives, he pities Claire, and he gives Claire, he tells Claire that Jamie's not dead, but he's going to be dead.
Yes.
And she gives Claire Jamie's box of belongings. So she leaves, and as she's walking out, Myrta's just like walking back and forth outside. And she throws up because she's upset, I guess.
Wouldn't you be?
Huh?
Wouldn't you be?
Yeah. And,
maybe. I don't know. Maybe I liked him.
Yeah. And they head back to the pub where Willie is sulking and Rupert and Angus are playing dice.
Something. They're playing something. They're betting. There's loud.
Yeah. With a bunch of drunks.
Yeah.
And Willie, Claire, and Myrta are like pissed off. They're like, how could they be, having fun while Jamie's about to die, blah, blah, blah. And then Rupert and Angus come over in typical. Such a typical Rupert and Angus scene that it's kind of funny. Yep. They come over and Claire and them, and I think even Willie starts like yelling at them for being like disrespectful, and then all of a sudden they're just like, "Hey, we were getting information. We weren't just drinking and having fun. We found out that the warden is like a religious guy and like takes like an hour and a half break and won't be in his office for this amount of time. So you guys should go storm the castle then."
We have a perfect plan for you. Now go do it.
Yeah. So they go, Claire and Myrta go back. The warden's on break, and they, like, search his office. And then Willie, Angus, and Rupert are just chilling in the woods.
Yeah. Basically. Look, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I mean, I understand wanting to make the sort of raiding party as small as possible.
This is really small.
Right, but like in the sense that she's trying to infiltrate. Like it's a surgical strike rather than an all-out raid, which later. But yeah, so like I totally understand this plan and I agree with it. It's interesting. I liked it.
Yeah. So Myrta and Claire kind of ransack the whole office and aren't finding.
Oh yeah, they're not subtle.
And they're not really finding anything. Myrta finally finds a set of keys, but there's no map. And then I guess like what we would consider nowadays like an admin assistant to the warden comes in and is like, "What are you guys doing?" And then Myrta just knocks him out. Okay.
Yep. Just bam.
Yeah. So then instead, this is where I got a little confused. Whereas Myrta hands Claire the keys and then she goes up. But why didn't Myrta go with her? Like, what was the point of him not going?
I don't know. Oh, it was because she said that if she's caught wandering around, she can just say that that he was trying to do something and she was looking for help. And if he gets caught, he can say that he was supposed to be meeting her outside.
Okay.
Essentially, it was like they were more able to use each other as an excuse than they would have been able to sneak around a prison by themselves together.
I get it, but then Claire doesn't run into anyone.
No, she doesn't. It was just in the off chance that she ran into somebody, she could blame him, and everything would be okay still. And the same for him. If on the off chance he gets caught, then he can say something about her, and hopefully still be okay.
I still think it was stupid.
I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Whether or not that makes me stupid, I don't know. It works for her for the most part.
I froze a little, so I didn't hear you.
I said it works for her for the most part.
Yeah. So meanwhile, while Claire's doing all that, Jamie is pretty much in his living hell. Because Blackjack comes down with his like mute Scottish slave, I guess.
Servant, something large burly man.
And even that guy thinks Blackjack's weird because even some of his facial expressions were like, and Blackjack just like, I don't even know how to describe what he like. I don't even know. It's so weird. He's so weird. I mean, do you want to talk about it?
About what?
About everything that Blackjack does.
Yeah, I mean, Blackjack further, like, no pun intended, nails home the fact that he is a sadist. I mean, we experienced it retroactively when he's discussing the way that he inflicts the pain on Jamie, like with the lashes. This time, though, we actually get to see what it's like when he is doing it himself. Like, he enjoys the psychological torture of telling Jamie all about stuff, asking him questions, asking him about Claire and asking him about the scars on his back and like, do you think of me when you're on top of your wife and things like that. And so I mean, it was a really good moment for Tobias is his name, the actor. It was it was a really good performance. And then I did this is stuff, like I said, this is stuff we don't see in the book. It's just implied. But it was good to see what actually predicates the hammering of the hand, because you're sort of left to assume things when Claire finds him, so that you think, well, he's just been beaten, like Blackjack's an asshole, he gets the shit kicked out of him. But in this case, you see that, like, you know, Jamie did fight back, and you see him fight back multiple times throughout the episode. Like, he fights back when he's about to be put in the gallows. He fights back against Blackjack when he can, and he holds his own pretty well.
Yeah.
And he gets pinned down by the burly man until Blackjack actually hits him. And it's obvious that Blackjack wants to play with him.
Yeah.
And I'd love to understand, like, his fascination with Jamie, like, why this person. And it must have something to do with the fact that Jamie didn't, like, freak out or anything during the whipping.
I think that's exactly why Blackjack's obsessed with Jamie, is because Jamie never submitted himself to Blackjack. I think Blackjack is used to getting what he wants. Mm-hmm. And when he threatens someone, they're usually like, okay, and Jamie won't do that. And within this whole sequence of horror for Jamie, Blackjack makes 2 deals, one that comes after Claire, and then before. He basically says, if you admit that, like, I haunt your frickin' dreams, if you just admit that to me, then I'll let you pick any way you want to die.
Right, he says, like, I can slit your throat, it's messy, or stuff like that.
And that's when Jamie says no. He doesn't, he won't admit that. That's the first time Jamie's hand gets smashed. So then Blackjack's like, okay, well, I'll give you some time to think. And he leaves with his, like, manservant. Mm-hmm. And then that's when Claire is able to find Jamie. And Claire goes into the torture suite and finds Jamie there. And they have, like, a moment, very short-lived. And she's trying to break him out because he's shackled to the floor. And
she's doing it kind of intelligently too, which I was surprised, where she sticks the key in and then hammers it.
Yeah.
Because that's like using a bump key.
But I guess she makes too much noise and Blackjack shows back up.
Yeah, and that's when things get really intense for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is interesting about the Blackjack Jamie dynamic is that I think that whereas with a lot of people they would get angry at someone who doesn't submit to them, or, like, doesn't back down, or, like, they don't get to exert their power, I think Blackjack is actually enticed by Jamie's sort of reluctance and bullheadedness in many ways, in the same way that, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Did you ever see the movie Unbreakable?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Oh, okay, well, there's, like,
I know what happened.
One of the things is like, the idea is, like, I'm looking for someone who's my exact opposite, or there's other, like, superhero, supervillain, or, hero and villain, any dynamic that happens where the villain is looking for someone who is as intelligent or as strong or something as them, like, who's their perfect adversary. And that is kind of how I feel Blackjack sees Jamie. Like, this is great. I love this. I want this to go on forever. And I think that's one of the reasons why why Blackjack's ultimate victory over Jamie at the end of the episode, it makes him so happy.
Yes. I think for Blackjack and Jamie, I think they're actually, as weird as it is, I think there's a lot of similarities between the two in certain ways. And I think Blackjack actually has a lot of respect for Jamie. Whereas I don't think Jamie has much respect for Blackjack. But I think Blackjack does have respect for Jamie because Jamie hasn't given in to him. I think he sees, like, this fire within Jamie, and that, I guess, just, gets Blackjack going, and not, like, I'm not trying to sexualize it.
But it is kind of in a sexual way, and in the same, because, I would say that Blackjack is almost the epitome of a sexual sadist. Like, he gets off on inflicting pain.
Yes.
And he even, like, there's a moment where he puts Jamie's, like, hand on his crotch and then, like, chastises himself, like, don't give into that, and, like, this isn't the time, it's later. Which is just so creepy.
That was, like, I think that might have been the creepiest moment.
I think of all of the things that this show has added to what I know anyway of the Outlander mythology, they've added a lot for Blackjack and made him just so much more of a villain and so much more interesting a villain. So, like, I want to see him in episodes, but then I really don't.
Yeah, like, Blackjack is completely unredeemable. And I think Blackjack knows that. He knows, like, when we first met Blackjack, and we met him through Claire's eyes, I think everyone, and myself included as well as Claire, thought, oh, well, he can't be all that bad. She must be able to break him. He's not breakable. Blackjack is a horrible human being, the end. And he is not going to sit here and pretend like he's not a horrible human being. And I think that's one of the most interesting aspects to the character, is that he knows he's bad, and he doesn't give a fuck if everyone else hates him.
Yeah, you have that. There's that whole moment where, about halfway through the episode, where Blackjack pulls out Jamie's like complaint against him, and he says, like, "This is very interesting. This probably would have ruined my entire career, and you would have gotten your pardon. I'm going to put it in the fire now."
Yeah, and then you think, oh man, they don't have copies back then. There was only one.
How the hell he actually got it?
The Duke gave it to him.
Right, but like he had said he found out about it through mutual acquaintances of the Duke or something. So either he then went to the Duke and said hand it over, or one of the mutual acquaintances stole it or something.
I'm pretty sure he probably just went to the Duke, and the Duke was like, okay.
Yeah, probably.
The most trustworthy guy in the world.
No, not really.
Both sides already.
Yeah. So then that's when, at this point, like, Jamie's sort of beaten and passing out and not in a good place, and that's when, as you said, Claire shows up and is trying to break him out, and then Blackjack shows back up, and things get a little horrible.
Yeah, because Jamie is very weak at this point. He can't really fight back, and he's also shackled to the ground, so he only has a limited amount of area to actually fight. And Blackjack, of course, finds Claire, and I think he's also very intrigued by the fact that Claire did come all this way to save Jamie.
Right, and he says, the first thing he says is, you have a habit, or, yeah, like, you're making a habit out of showing up where I least expect you, or something.
Yeah. And then she says this line that I think every person that watches this show wants to, like, yells and goes, why didn't you? She says this thing where she goes, I should have slit your throat. And I'm pretty sure around the world, everyone that watched that episode, when she said that, everyone was like, you should have, you dumb bitch. Like, why didn't you kill him when you could have? Like, I know my father he doesn't understand why no one's killed this man. It really boggles his mind. He goes, she could have killed him several times, and she didn't.
And Blackjack points that out, too. Like, she says, I should have slit your throat when you were unconscious at Fort William. And he says, yeah, you probably should have. You're going to regret that for a long time.
Pretty much. Like, he knows, like, he's pretty... So, yeah. So, Claire starts getting manhandled by the manservant. It's
manhandled by the manservant.
Yeah. And Jamie is conscious enough to... Does he just yell something?
I'm not sure exactly what happens, but...
Yeah, I kind of forget the sequence there. But
she ends up attacking
she kills
Blackjack. And then Jamie stabs the big manservant dude in the throat with the broken...
Yeah, so they get a little fire under their butts to do that. So then that's what happens is now Blackjack makes his final deal with both Jamie and Claire. So basically... Blackjack's like, listen, if Jamie gives himself to me, Claire will get to leave. Or no, I think Jamie comes up with the plan.
Yeah, I think he does. He says that, you let her go and you can have me.
Yeah.
Because Blackjack is basically, he's got Claire up against a wall and he's getting handsy and evil and saying things, and Jamie says, stop. Let her go, and you can have me.
Yeah, and, like, Jamie won't fight him. Like, he'll completely...
Yeah. He says, I won't fight you,
Yeah.
That's it.
And Claire is, no, don't do it, blah, 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 crying. Like, a tip, like, a note of anyone would be exactly how Claire is reacting.
Yeah, exactly.
In the situation. And to prove his trust, their trust for one another.
Well, and that's the thing that I think entices Blackjack the most, because he says this would be like a game of trust. Like, it's your word against mine.
Yeah.
And so now prove your side of the deal.
So Blackjack is going to escort Claire out, but to make sure that Jamie trusts him and will not fight back, he decides to nail Jamie's hand to the table.
His already broken hand.
Yeah, not like the fresh one, the one that he already beat the crap out of. Now he's going to nail it to the table. Mm-hmm. Which, I think I'd rather it all be done to one hand.
On the one hand, again, yes, I think I would rather him further ruin the already ruined hand. But on the other, it's going to hurt more.
Yeah. And then this was a question that it's another, ties in kind of with how myself as well as my father are obsessed with Game of Thrones. Was that his sword fighting hand? Like, did they pull a Jaime Lannister on Jamie?
I don't think so. He's not left-handed. It was his left hand.
We weren't sure. We haven't seen Jamie with a sword in a while, so we're like, oh my god, is that his sword here?
I'm pretty sure he's right-handed, but I'm not positive.
All right. So Blackjack nails his hand. Claire is there with Jamie, and they kind of have this really awful goodbye. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, neither one of them thinks that they're going to see each other again.
Yeah, I like that he says, do as I say.
Yeah. And so this was another great scene. So Jamie's now nailed to the table. And Blackjack walks Claire through the hallways, and he goes, oh, I heard you were on a witch trial.
By the way.
Yeah, just casual combo, as I'm going to go back and, rape your husband. Let's just talk about, so I heard you were on trial lately. You're a witch.
I love Claire's response.
Yeah. And Claire, takes a beat, and then she goes, yes, I am. I am a witch. And she goes, I can tell you exactly when you are going to die. The day and the time. And yet again, another amazing trait of Claire that she actually remembers all this information. Mm-hmm. And she turns around and she whispers to Blackjack the exact day, the exact time, and how he is going to die. And without not even saying anything, he just pushes her down this little, I guess, it reminds me of the things that you in a stage where someone pops up.
Trapdoor.
Yeah, that word. And he pushes her down this little trapdoor, and she falls into a body of dead people.
But a whole big pit of dead people. One of the things that I was wondering if they were going to do it in the show or not, is in the book when she falls into that pit of dead people, she is then almost immediately attacked by wolves.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't happen.
Now you hear the wolves.
Yeah, but
she never actually gets attacked, and I was kind of glad they didn't, because it would just have felt like too much.
I mean, that I would have been like, are you seriously? This
it felt a little too much in the book too, where it was and then wolves attack, and you're like, seriously? Yeah. And they bite her and attack her, seriously.
That would have been too much. It would have been I would have been like, this is too much.
And then she gets rescued and ends up at the place that she eventually ends up, which is with, and I cannot remember his name, Sir something or other, in his home, and he's allowing them to stay there because he's a friend of the Fraser clan. Yeah. And of course, as with apparently everyone, was at one time kind of into Jamie's mom.
Yeah, I know we're probably never going to see her, but I want to kind of meet her and see because all these guys really loved her. And I want to see what she looks like.
Right, exactly. All of these men were in love with her.
Yeah, and Murtaugh, after he hears the story, is oh.
Yeah. He's like, oh, another one.
Yeah. So, and then another thing that's very common throughout Outlander is that they always have rendezvous or set up camp, and it always seems extremely far away from the location. So she escapes the prison, and then she's gotta truck it through the forest to get to the guys. And I'm like, they couldn't have picked a closer
rendezvous.
Yeah. And that's when she starts hearing the wolves, and then I forget if it's Angus or Rupert, or if it's both of them shows up, and he's like, you shouldn't be walking around here by yourself. Well, duh.
Yeah, and then they end up back there, and they, she asked the guy to muster some men to help them storm the prison, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
He's like, what am I, stupid? No.
And that's when she hands him the pearls that were Jamie's mom's that Jamie gave her on their wedding night. And he says, I gave these to her. But he still says he's not going to help. And then the guy with the cows shows up, and Murtaugh is like, I got an idea.
And you're just like, so you're going to storm the prison with some cattle. Okay. Right? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. They staged it a little differently, where it was that Claire wakes up there after being attacked by wolves, and she's been like tended to, and Murtaugh and the men are out helping round up the cattle, but they can only find a few of them, and that's because they've sequestered the other like 20.
Oh, okay.
So they can use them later for their plan, which we will see next week. Well, not next week. The week after next.
Sure.
There's just one episode left. Can you stand it?
I mean, like, I'm very interested to see how the cattle situation works out. I mean, I think we would all be kidding ourselves to think that Jamie's not going to survive this. I mean, duh. But I'm interested to see how they actually get him out. I'm interested to see what the effect of Blackjack's actions has on Jamie. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to end, besides the obvious is Jamie being rescued.
Right. Like, there's going to have to be some sort of fallout after the fact.
Yeah.
And those of us who've read the book, know exactly what the fallout is and what's going to happen and all the things that are happening in the next episode. At least presumably we know. How much we're going to see of what happens after Claire leaves to Jamie. I mean, we have a whole hour, and I'm not sure when the storming is going to happen in the episode. So, like, I don't know how much of the end, because there's this whole chunk at the end of the book that I felt was almost unnecessary and really slowed down the action. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt the last bit of the book. So I'm definitely interested in what they're going to do with that. And obviously there's going to be some sort of fallout, and we'll see what that is, and how the final confrontation, at least for the season, between the Frasers and Jack Randall. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. I mean,
there's actually not that many loose ends to tie up.
No. I mean, it's really just the Blackjack thing.
Yeah. I mean, Claire's made her decision about going back to the future, so that's not really something that we need to tie up, and presumably anyway. And it's pretty much just their confrontation with Blackjack and whether or not they return to Lallybrook.
Yeah. And, like, I guess the Doogie situation has to be discussed at some point. I mean, we kind of put all of the Mackenzie clan drama on the back burner.
Yeah. There's a lot that feels like it's being set up for the next season.
Yeah.
Intentionally. Like, we're leaving the Dougal situation the way that it was. And, leaving the past future situation where it is for further contemplation.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess really what just has to be decided is, like, how Jamie will be rescued and how he will escape. And then what will Blackjack do? And will Jamie's price on his head be finally cleared? Because really those are the only two obstacles that these two have. The only reason they've been living and hiding and, worried about the Redcoats is because Jamie is still kind of on the run. So I guess, I don't know. There has to be, like, some dramatic cliffhanger, I'm assuming, since we're not going to be getting Outlander until 2016. I'm
wondering if they'll end it on some sort of dramatic cliffhanger, or if they will end it with a, and then there will be more.
I think
I'm leaning towards the, and then there will be more.
I don't know. Part of me always likes a dramatic cliffhanger, especially if you know you're doing another season. Like, why not leave the fans being like, oh my God? Because then, as a fan, I just have nothing. Like, I don't feel, like, super amped. I'm, like, super pissed that I have to now wait for the new season.
I have ideas about where they could end things, but I'm sticking with I think they'll just end it, on a nice,
like, a pretty little bow.
Yeah.
I don't like pretty little bows, so. But I guess we'll see.
We will see. Yeah. Well, that about does it, I think, for us. on this episode of Two Chicks, One Show. The last episode of Outlander airs on Starz, not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday on May 30th at 9 p.m. So we will have this show following that show. Time TBA, because we have some things going on that week that I'll have to address. So follow us on Twitter at AllGeekToMeNet or at Trisha Ennis or at Kate Calabro for all of the updates on Two Chicks, One Show. You can also use the hashtag Two Chicks, One Show to conversate with us and to keep up on all things show. We love to hear your comments, questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts about our show, the show that we've been talking about, any of the shows previously we've talked about. It's a great time. And we will see you in the next episode, the final one for Outlander Season 1. So long.
See ya!